Hi everyone, Paige DeMacos from Arizona Sports. I had the opportunity to sit down with Christine Arians, Bruce's wife, and talk about Bruce, the family foundation, and being an NFL wife. This is the first part of a three-part series. I hope you enjoy. So, being a football wife, all right? When I say football wife, what does that entail? Because I know it's a lot, so especially to Mr. Arians. So being a football wife, what does that mean?
Well, that means basically I handle everything in our lives except for football.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, people ask me, well, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a family CEO, family CFO, family COO. I mean, basically, I do everything other than football.
Which, I mean, a lot of wives can sympathize with, knowing that they keep the household running, but especially when your significant other spends so much time outside of the home. I mean, how difficult is that for you two? I mean, he's got a very demanding job, so how difficult is that?
Well, it's not difficult anymore.
Yeah.
What was difficult was when the kids were little, you know, and I'd put them to bed and he wasn't home yet, you know, which meant they go like a whole day without seeing Daddy. Because as an assistant coach, he didn't get to set the schedule.
Yeah.
And he worked for some people who had ridiculous schedules.
Yeah.
So
I know how those coaches are.
yeah.
And he has said, and I know we're lucky we get to talk to him all the time, and I get to talk to him all the time, but that he values family so much, and that he presses upon his staff that they should be very active in their family's life. That's pretty backwards in football, because a lot of the coaches of the world are so football focused, and the families, where does that come from? Where does Bruce have that from?
Well, it comes from the guilt, I think. You know, that when he couldn't be there, he felt so guilty. And I know he's told the story of, you know, sneaking out, pretending he was going for a run, but sneaking in the car and going to see, you know, like one of our son's games or, you know, one of our daughter's activities or whatever. And, you know, he doesn't want his guys to have to sneak out. Because, you know, you can come in and do the work at midnight if you had to be home, you know, for one of your kids' activities or something. The work, as long as you get the work done, it's okay, you know?
But that's pretty unusual that he's like that.
Yeah, it's sad that it's unusual.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. How about the kids, though? How did they deal with that growing up? I mean, obviously, from the outside looking in, it looks like they have a great relationship with their father. I mean, I follow along Jake and see what he talks about his dad, and just seems like Bruce is his hero, basically.
Yeah, the two of them have a really special bond, and I think our daughter and I have a really special bond. But it was really hard for her. There was a time, and we were working for a coach who Bruce worked ridiculous hours, and it was the kind of staff where there was always an undercurrent, and so he was all stressed out because that's not him either. You know, Bruce is a Libra. He's all about those scales being balanced and stuff, and so he was all stressed out, and she was, you know, wanting her daddy, and he wasn't there, and that put a real strain on their relationship for a number of years.
It's tough, though. I mean,
it is. There's no doubt it's tough, and Jake, he got the whole thing more than our daughter did. You know, I said to him one time after teen moves, you know, how come you don't cry and whine and fuss like your sister does every time we move? And he said, Mom, what's the use? It's gonna happen. It has to happen. So what's the use of fussing about it? Our daughter never had that attitude.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a pretty mature attitude. I know people that don't like moving across the street, let alone moving city to city. So, toughest challenge for you as a mom, because obviously mom, wife, with this whole people being a part of your life and being a football mom and wife, what was the toughest part?
Well, actually, I think raising our son, and this is another thing I asked him years later when he was a grown-up, and I said, you know, when people talk to me about raising my kids, I say, yeah, I was a single parent. And I just wonder if you have, you know, if you agree with that. And he said, oh yeah, no doubt, you're the one who raised me. And it's hard. Not that I didn't have my husband's support, but I never felt like you can't say, well, wait till your dad gets home. Well, because it might be 3 days before you see your dad, you know. I couldn't do that. So what I realized was he was going to challenge me every day because he was a boy and that's what they do. And that I'm a really small person, so like I have to have control now when he's still smaller than me, because someday he's going to be bigger than me and I have to maintain that control. So he challenged me every day and I couldn't ever give in, you know. We had rules and we had consequences, and no matter how tired I was or how long the day was, you know, that consistency was such a huge part of being able to raise that boy that challenged me every day.
Oh yeah, because you had to play the mom and the dad role. You had to be, you know, a lot of parents, my parents included, when my mom had something wrong with my brother, like you said, you wait until dad gets home because dad was the disciplinarian. So you had to discipline, but also
couldn't do that. Yeah. And I had Bruce's backing. I mean, he wasn't gonna allow Jake to smart mouth me or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. You know, I had his backing. He just wasn't physically present most of the time. So
I can imagine Bruce being a pretty tough parent. I can't imagine but wanting to talk back to Bruce.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that was like, why does he challenge me every day? He doesn't do that to his dad. Yeah. Well, because he knows he's not going to get away with it with his dad. His dad was and still is actually, you know, a bigger guy than Jake. So,
how much do you guys? Because you know, everyone got a little taste of the Bruce and Chris Arians relationship from All or Nothing. The whole world basically got to see.
Yeah.
How much do you guys actually talk about football when you're at home?
Well, actually not a lot.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, not a lot. And I can remember one time, a couple years ago, well, he came home, we lost an away game, and so he comes home Sunday night, and he sits in his chair, the TV's on, he doesn't say a word, and then he goes to bed. And he does that again Monday night. Monday night's the long, you know, really long night. And Tuesday night, the same darn thing. So Wednesday night, I thought, well, I'm gonna make him talk to me. So I asked him a question, something about football, you know, whatever was going on that week. I don't even remember what the game was, but he had like a one-word answer, you know. So I used the follow-up question, another one-word answer. The third question, he says to me, God, I have to answer questions to the press all day long. I have to come home and get the same questions. So that's pretty much the last time I did that.
You talked about football.
Yeah, that was several years ago. It's like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore.
Thanks for watching the first part of a 3-part series with Christine Arians. Next week, on Friday, we will release the second part. Check on ArizonaSports.com for the latest.